everybody. So this time for this video, I have a special guest with me.
What is this? A crossover episode?
So we're going to talk about LGBTQ, all the things today. So we're going to have some fun chatting, and we're probably going to be up all night because I'm always recording these things in the middle of the night. So we're going to be like up all night goofing around, and we have to wake up early in the morning, but that's okay. So stay tuned, and we're going to chat. Alright, so I've talked to everybody about my non-binary gender identity and coming out and being on testosterone and all of that. So today we're going to talk about LGBTQ plus things kind of more broadly. We're working on a project together out of town, so we're sharing a hotel room and we get to hang out and have a slumber party, sort of, I guess.
This is the second time, well, technically third, because I did come and hang out with you when I was working at the Ren Fair.
Yep. So,
yeah. More projects together, more videos probably together too in the future.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah, we work on film projects together in the real world. And, I mean, I don't know if you can consider film projects in the real world, but yeah.
I mean, it's real and make-believe, so you get the best of both worlds.
It is. It's great. So, but in any case, you know I'm non-binary. Kyleen is bisexual.
Yes, I am. Very much so.
So, for me, non-binary, well, okay, so non-binary, for those who don't know what non-binary is, non-binary is a gender identity that does not conform strictly to the binary genders of either male or female. So anything that is not strictly male or female is non-binary. Those are the binaries. Anything that's not that is something else. It's non-binary. So that means that there could be beyond, outside of, between, mixtures of different things, whatever gender is to you. If it's not I am a man or I am a woman, it's non-binary. Now, you don't have to call yourself that. If you don't identify whatever, call yourself whatever you want. But that's just the definition of non-binary. For me, I feel like my gender is a mix of male and female. Like, I have very masculine things about me and very feminine things about me. And things about me that don't really fit either one that are just kind of odd. So that's what non-binary is and is to me. That not every non-binary person will feel their gender in the same way. So it's kind of cool. It makes us all kind of unique and weirdos, which is a good thing. So,
what's be normal?
Would you speak about bisexuality?
Yes. Bisexuality is you can be either a man or a woman. It doesn't really matter, or even non-binary, to be honest with you. And then you just are attracted to people of the same sex or even opposite sex. Again, varying degrees. Like, for me, it started where I was attracted to females just in general for, like, their looks and their personalities and stuff like that. But there wasn't really much of a sexual interest at first. And I was always, into men. And even then, like, wasn't really into men that much either when I was in high school. I just wasn't really into people, really. But anyways. But the more I explored, got more and more attracted to women, and I was drawn to a lot of, like, I like to check out women all the time, probably, and like me and my guy friends would always check out women, and they thought it was just, they would stop at first when they noticed I was there listening and actively participating, and then I'm like, dude, I think she's hot too. Oh wait, do you curse on your channel?
No.
I would think they're...
We'll edit that out.
Yeah. I think, oh my gosh, they're super hot too. Like, wow. And just, it was some kind of an awakening thing for me, because I kind of realized that I was bisexual when I was in high school, particularly in my junior year, because I would like make out with some of my female friends just for fun. But yeah, like, it's just, you're not really attracted.
You were having fun, and they were having fun, and
yeah. But yeah, it's just basically attracted to whether it's same sex, opposite sex, non-binary people don't really identify with the sex, things like that. Just yeah, that's how it is for me too. Yeah.
So, follow-up question on that, when you were saying how, like, you weren't really interested in people for a while, it just kind of, like, built on you, would you consider yourself demisexual?
No, I really wouldn't know.
If you would have known the word at that point?
I probably would have at then, until I actually started, because that was before I really explored my sexuality to begin with. And being attracted to the women too, that's kind of what kind of triggered it, because I was actually more active with women than I was with men at the time. And it just was one of those things where I just wasn't interested in men either for a while there. I actually think that I might be classified more as like asexual, because it's like I do like to, for the person that I'm with, to, you know, their pleasure and stuff, but I really don't need that sexual stimuli in my own life.
Okay. Right.
But like, again, like I don't really classify myself as that. I just do the bisexuality because I am interested.
So you're
in
more
that.
like bi-romantic, but
Yeah.
ace, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Kind
just,
of like
it's
a
just
mix.
easier
It's
to
kind
say this is bi.
Yeah, it really is. But like, I've even talked to my husband about this. Like, I do have a lot of ace tendencies.
Bi-romantic demi-ace.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Right. It's just easier to say bi.
It really is.
Bi. Yeah, so
Yes.
I've seen a meme where it's like non-binary people, when a cis person asks about their gender, I'm non-binary. Non-binary when another non-binary person asks about their gender, and it's the pegboard from It's Always Sunny with all like the strings of your conspiracy theory of like all this complicated thing. Yeah.
I actually have some friends in college that were actually talking about all that stuff too, and it was like, and because they knew I was part of the community, so like they were very open about it, and it was so great. I was like, and actually, talking about the ace and stuff, this is the first time I've actually talked about it on the channel, like anything. So like, yeah,
It's not on your channel, it's on mine.
Now it's out there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's interesting. But yeah, it's funny because like identity is such a complicated thing, and we just like put ourselves in these little boxes with these labels, but that's not really what any of us are, because even people who identify as being men or women or straight or homosexual, like there's such a spectrum there anyways. Like most straight people will say, oh, I'd be gay for so and so. You've always got your exceptions, you know, and
You're attracted to who you're attracted to.
yeah. And you know what? I'm sure there are even exceptions who don't have those exceptions. You know?
World is crazy.
I was talking to one person once, and I was talking to her about being non-binary and about my gender and being in between male and female, and she's just going, yeah, but nobody's really like fully male or fully female. Like nobody really feels that way. I'm going, they actually do. Kinda sorry to be the one to tell you, but there are women out there who very much feel like women and identify with everything having to do with femininity.
Yeah, I am 100% woman. I am attracted to both sexes, but I'm 100% woman.
Right, but you have interests that would be considered masculine. You have qualities that would be considered masculine.
True, but
So
I
you've
still
got, like-
identify those.
Right. You identify, but I mean, you
Yeah.
identify with some other things. You know, most people have like interests or qualities that would be considered one or the other that isn't their own, that they identify with, but still, like, you know, mostly. Like you're probably like 80 to 90% of the things that you would describe as your personal qualities and interests are feminine. So you identify as a woman.
No, actually, more masculine, because I'm a tomboy. I love, like, sports and power tools and all this other random crap that would be considered men. Yeah.
But do you consider them masculine?
No, I don't.
Right, see, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, the things about you are either going to be feminine or neutral. And, you know, but other people, like, okay, so, I mean, I kind of consider a lot of that stuff masculine, and I ascribe to it. So it's a more a matter of how you see yourself and how you feel about the qualities themselves. But there are people who, like, are fully masculine and fully feminine, and they exist. Like, I didn't think they existed either, but the more I looked at it, it's like, oh, these people, like, the women who wear high heels and makeup and do their hair and spend, like, hours in the bathroom every morning actually want to do that, and they're not just doing it because they think they're supposed to. That's just weird to me.
I actually know people that are like that.
Yeah, and they actually want to do it. Like, I always thought, like, it was just like, oh, you're just a slave to society. No, they want to do it.
And
now,
they encourage you to do it too. And not because they're trying to, like, push that stuff on you, but because they just think it's, like, it's a way to enhance, you know, just...
Yeah, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Now, I do like putting on makeup sometimes, and dressing up in costume sometimes, and, you know, doing these things. Sometimes. It's a matter of costume rather than, like, a daily ritual. But for some people, that daily ritual is soothing and a part of who they are and a great way to express themselves. And, yeah, it was kind of a surprise when I realized people aren't all non-binary. You know, people kind of have that reaction, like, well, what is non-binary? It's like, I kind of had that whole, like, realization when I realized other people are binary, like, that there is a binary and it's actually, like, some people ascribe to it. And I don't get it, but what you gonna do?
Yeah.
So, you were talking about, you know, coming out sort of as ace for the first time on the internet.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like being out on the internet and in real life and just kind of in general. So I've been out for about a year. Been out as non-binary for about a year and announced that I'll be taking testosterone about a month ago. And so non-binary is part of the under the trans umbrella. So trans just means you do not identify with the gender you were assigned at birth. And that can be, you can associate partially or not at all. It does not stand for transition. It just means across from. Trans is part of the word transition. It is not short for it. It is a prefix. It just means across from. And cis, interestingly enough, means on the same side as. So a cisgender person identifies their gender as on the same side or the same as they were assigned at birth. It's a prefix that has been around for thousands of years. I believe it's Latin. Same as trans. It's just the opposite of trans. They're opposites.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. It's used in chemistry a lot. So you'll have like cis molecules and trans molecules. So it's like the same molecule, but it's like on one of them, this little atom is on this side, and so the cis one is on this side, and the trans one, it just it shows up on the other side.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
it is. Yeah, so it's like this old term, been around forever, and it just has more recently been applied to gender. So, yes, very interesting.
And it makes sense because gender is, in a way, done with, like, chemistry, too, because, like, your chemical makeup, it affects your mind as well. Like,
Sure.
That's
But I mean, it's not determined by cis molecules and trans molecules.
Well, I know, but I mean in general. But
just to be clear.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's just like it makes sense because like you were born a certain way, and then whether you realize it right away or not, and just how you are, and it just makes sense that it's like actual chemical term. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Though your gender identity can change over time.
That is true.
So. And it probably isn't going to change in a binary sort of way, though your expression might. But your gender identity can change slightly. Your sexuality certainly can change over time. And yeah, so I mean, we've all got some flux and flow in our lives and in our identities. But being out on the internet and in real life, so I identify as non-binary. I also identify as trans, but I don't typically put that first, though I do definitely identify that way. Because I feel like if I say I'm trans, people are going to expect certain things. They're going to expect a binary transition, which isn't what they should expect from me. So expecting me to be non-binary makes them, if I say I'm non-binary, people go, what is that? Yes, thank you. That's what I want. I want you to learn about me as a person and not have these preconceived notions about which way I'm going.
Yes.
And what's in my pants, which currently my pockets are empty, I think, so I don't have any.
I have no pockets, so I've got nothing to
Sometimes the joke will be, what's in your pants? It's like, 35 cents, some lint, and a button.
Can't forget that button.
Yeah. But being out, it's been exhausting. So every time I meet somebody new, I have to come out all over again. Now, I don't need to go into all the specifics, although sometimes I do. And I do really like talking about myself, really. But I do like talking to people and educating people and teaching people new things. And non-binary for a lot of people is something new. And I just learned a lot about it in this past year, so I want to share what I learned. So most times I don't mind talking about it. But it is still exhausting. Even when you enjoy something, it's exhausting. Like, you can really enjoy baking, but you're not going to want to do it for 24/7, You're going to get tired of it. So I like to wear a they, them button. So then when I introduce myself, I can say, my name is Crescentia. I use they, them pronouns, and I point to my button, and then ideally I don't have to constantly correct them, though really I need to because people are always misgendering me, and it's so frustrating because it's like, I just told you. But some people, like my good friend Kyleen here, make a real effort to use my correct pronouns, which I very much appreciate.
And correct other people who use it wrong in front of you. That
is the absolute best thing, is to have somebody who will correct other people for you, because it's so much easier to correct somebody about, like, it's like, no, her name is Kyleen, not Kylie, Kyleen, which is so much easier for me to do than for Kyleen to go, just whatever.
I actually get to that point so many times.
Right. And so gender identity is the same way. It's just like, I'm just not even going to bother. Because you don't really want, most people for the most part don't really want to stick up for themselves. They'll stick up for other people all day long. But sticking up for ourselves gets awkward, and it kind of feels like you're being selfish or nitpicky or whatever. So a lot of times I let it go. And of course, like, if I'm getting served in the drive-thru, I'm not going to sit there and correct people on my pronouns who have never actually even met me.
or really we'll meet you again.
Right. Like there's no real return on investment on that one. However, it is really awesome when I'm wearing my button and I go up to a checkout counter and the person behind the counter goes, "Oh, I love your button." Because most people don't notice. But the few people who do notice usually also have unexpected pronouns. So you expect them to be a she, her, and they're a he, him, or a they, them. Or you expect them to be a he, him, and they're a she, her, or a they, them. Or a z, zer,
Or she, they.
Or she, they. Or any other sorts of combinations of pronouns that they might like. Like, they see my button and they know that they aren't alone in the world, that there are other people out there. And so it's really encouraging, and I love making that connection. I mean, it's rare, but it's a treasure.
Like I always say, that's why I love the theater, because you never know. So many like-minded people.
Yeah. So what is it like for you, Kyleen, to be out on the internet and in real life?
To be honest, on the internet, it's really the same, because a lot of the internet people, like, they really don't know you per se, and you just can bring out your persona to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
When people first started learning about me being like bisexual on the internet, it really didn't change much except for like flirting with people in general. But I did that anyway. It's more of like an in-person thing. Like a lot of jobs I work, especially one of the ones that I work at now, part-time, they didn't, like, I've worked there for nearly a year now, and a lot of people didn't know that I was bisexual. Although some of them suspected, but they never really broached it because, you know, you don't want to intrude, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, one of my really good friends, who actually has become, like, one of my best friends, I mentioned that I was bisexual. And then we were just playing around and asking me questions like, so then who do you like here, guys and girls and stuff like that? And we were just playing a guessing game. So I'm like,
okay.
I was like, okay, so there's 2 guys that I like and 1 girl that I like. Good luck. You get 3 guesses. So, like, we were just playing games at all that time. And actually one of the girls, the only girl I liked was her who was guessing. So it was really funny when I finally gave her the answer. And yet she didn't treat me any different, which was great. She's a really good friend. But anyways, but it's really funny. Like, other people randomly, they're like, wait, what? Like, when they found out, like, it was like this, like, huge thing for them. It's like, how is it any different? Like, I'm not going to treat you any different. Nothing's going to change.
Right,
I was still flirting with everybody randomly. It's like, whatever. It's who I am.
Right, yeah, some people are just flirty, you know.
Yeah.
And some people don't flirt with anybody, even if they like them, so.
Yeah, and, like, it really isn't an issue for, like, the customers, because I don't really talk to them about that kind of stuff. But, like, for the coworkers that are like that, it's like, it's interesting. Like, some treat you differently, but not necessarily in a negative way.
Okay.
It's just more of they open up more to you, because it's like you open up this essentially part of yourself, and then they get into, like, their deeper stuff too. So I haven't really had a negative impact, not since I got out of school.
Also, on that note, that did remind me of something that me being out, not just with the button that I'll, like, run into people as strangers and stuff, but me being open in a workplace actually allowed someone to come out to me. Now, they weren't coming out for the first time, but they were coming out to me as the only person in this work environment who knew. And so they came out to me, and we were able to have some really good discussions and kind of bonded over that, and I felt, really special and honored that I was trusted enough out of all of the coworkers that I'm the one that they came out to. So that was really cool.
Yeah, it is a really good feeling, and it's surprising how many people you actually come across, especially, like, in the film industry. Like, I keep saying that all the time, because of the fact that I just work with so many diverse people.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, even just in the day jobs and stuff like that, it's really interesting to find out, like, the ones that are opened up about it to you. Like Like, it's people you maybe not even necessarily expect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's fun.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, also in my friend group, so when I came out and started sharing like all of these videos and memes about gender identity and things like that, then some really close members of our friend group got in touch with us and with my husband and I, and came out in various ways. And so now we have a nice tight little friend group of Alphabet Mafia. and it was really great because it's like in some ways we kind of suspected but like didn't know, and you don't know really how to ask somebody. It's just like, yeah, they'll tell me if they're ready, you shouldn't ask people. But it was really cool because it's like, oh, there's a reason why we were all hanging out together. It's like we knew we were all different, and it's fun because we're all different in different ways, and that's pretty cool. So you talked about how when you came out as bisexual, like nobody really at work, nobody really like treated you differently, really.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have been different if you were a man?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. I have seemed to notice that like women have less of a problem with being around someone who is homosexual than cis men typically do. Like there seems to be more like blatant homophobia among cis men than cis women, so that's who it would affect.
I definitely could see that. I just it's society. It's stupid.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, and it's weird how it comes out in society, like, and just all of the double standards and things.
Yeah, I personally hate double standards with a bloody passion. I think people should just be more accepting. Guess what? You're who you are. As long as you're not hurting yourself or somebody else, get over it.
Yeah. And so have you also gotten the oh, you're bi? Do you like me?
No. No, I haven't.
That's cool. I've heard that can be like kind of a problem.
lot of that
or
stuff happened.
You don't like me, do you? Or anything like that.
A lot of that stuff happened like when I was in school and maybe at one of my other jobs that I mentioned that I worked at for 3.5 years to you that I hated. But
So
yeah.
you have had that happen to you in other
areas.
situations.
Yeah. I think it was probably 5 years ago almost now. Yeah, about 5 years ago. Yeah, so it's been a little bit, but still.
I think the oddest question I've gotten about being non-binary was I had worked with this person for like at least a few weeks on this project. We had had conversations. I had mentioned having given birth to children. Like having been through childbirth, and then was like a couple weeks later like had been talking to them about being non-binary and everything, and they're going, oh, which way are you going? Were you born a boy or a girl? And I thought that was actually kind of a compliment, but like it's like we've talked about me giving birth to children. I'm just like thinking in my mind, and so I politely told them, which way, because we've had that conversation. I wasn't like, I wasn't stealth about it, but I was just really confused. Like, you knew this. Why are you asking? Okay. But that's the oddest thing so far, really.
Yeah.
Like I haven't gotten like any sort of like strong transphobia or weird non-binary questions. I unfortunately have not gotten the question, are you a boy or a girl? Like I'm kind of hoping to create confusion, but I haven't gotten any confusion yet. Everybody automatically reads me as female. I am kind of, I figure if I can pass as a butch lesbian, that's good enough right now. Which I think I could probably pass as a butch lesbian.
To people that don't know you, probably.
Right, yeah, like if somebody had just like walked past me on the street. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's about as masculine as I'm getting right now. But I'm working on it.
Yeah. I honestly don't think you would be able to have done that even if I didn't know you, mostly for the fact that I'm like super open and I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't care.
Now, my ideal gender presentation, which is different than gender identity, but my ideal gender presentation, how I wish to look and appear to the world, is I want to look like ultra-conservative transphobes think trans women look. That's what I want to look like. Drag queen, like that is, like, I don't want to have to do the makeup every single day, but like...
That'd be fun to do though.
Drag
I would be
like
willing to
glitter
do that.
beard, not a beard made out of glitter, glitter in a beard. I have already talked on this channel in one of the last couple of videos. I've already talked about how I came out to my kids with my gender identity, both to my adult children and to my elementary school children, which were very different conversations because my adult children already know everything. And that's not saying, oh, they know everything. No, they knew everything about this. Like, there wasn't a whole lot. They didn't have questions. They know about non-binary, and they were going, yeah, cool, you do you. Totally accepting. And my younger kids, so I had always taught my kids, based on my understanding, that the reason we call boys boys and girls girls strictly to do with whatever's in your pants, and doesn't matter, like, a girl can do whatever a boy can do, a boy can do whatever a girl can do. We only put you into categories because your body is different. Which was kind of a non-binary understanding, but also like still a binary understanding. It's like it's right and wrong, but yeah. And so, but I didn't really think too hard about what gender really is. That's just physical sex. That's not gender. And so I hadn't really given a whole lot of thought to what gender is, and that there are differences in genders, even if they're made up, and they're just kind of vague categories, but they're generalizations, and it's a whole big thing. But, so, and I talked to my kids about being transgender. A good friend of mine is transgender and had come and stayed with us when she was getting her confirmation surgery, and so we had talked about being transgender at that point, about the, and they were younger at that point too, and so talking to them about, in sort of the language they can understand, being born in the wrong body, more or less, which is very oversimplistic when talking about people who are trans. But it was on their level. Like, you shouldn't really talk about it that way to an adult with a broader understanding, but that's a good first place to start the conversation. And so we'd kind of talked about that and how, people want their bodies to look different so that they can be seen as who they are on the inside. And so we talked a little bit about that, but still it was in a very binary sense. I didn't have an understanding of non-binary at that time. So once I had that understanding, then I needed to talk to the kids and kind of, they're elementary school age, so I had to correct what I had taught them, which was really kind of difficult at that age to kind of correct this sort of understanding and go, I've learned things and now I want to share what I've learned with you. But so pretty much everything I taught you is wrong, and let's start over. not exactly how it went, but I talked in a previous video about the game that we played and talking about gender and how our own perceptions of our own gender are what's important. And so we've also talked to them about different sexualities and, you know, different relationships that people might have. And, yeah, and, you know, kids are so accepting if you just allow them to be accepting. And they've just been great about the whole thing. They don't really care. I mean, they care, but they don't. It doesn't bother them. They're supportive of anybody doing whatever they want to do if it makes them happy. Mm-hmm. So,
oh yes.
What about your kids?
So my biological children, I haven't really had a chance to talk to them about it because they aren't like here. But my stepkids who live with me, been pretty open about it with the two older girls. Not so much with my son because it really hasn't really come up with him to really talk about it. Mm-hmm. But my girls have been accepting, and like we've always, like my husband and I always say, it's like if you have any questions about any of this stuff, always more than welcome to talk to us. They already did most of their own research though about these topics in general, because especially like reading all the fanfics and stuff that they like, so they already are in that space where they just know what everything is. So when they found out that I was, they were like, it makes sense. So it wasn't really, you know, anything, and they already knew because they are teenagers. So.
Yeah, and your son's still elementary school age, right?
Yeah. He's 10. Yeah.
And so he's kind of still at the age where, you know, sexuality is measured by who you're married to rather than like who you're dating. Like dating isn't really part of the conversation. And it is different for him
because he is on the autism spectrum. So it's like he's more advanced than kids his age for certain things, and other things he's less advanced. It's just, you know, it's not really something that he really cares about.
Right, yeah. It's like, that's your life. Why do I care?
Yeah.
It's like, you're still going to be married to my dad, right? Yeah. Okay, why do I care?
Yeah. Again, like, we're openly talking about it in, like, talks every so often, but it's just one of those things, like...
So, do you talk with him about, like, other people's relationships, like, in general, about being...
He doesn't really want to pay attention to about relationship talk, to be honest. He doesn't have the attention span for it, which is fine. Like,
plus at 10, you know.
Yeah. Video game stuff, but we'll talk about that stuff all day long, you know. But like anything outside of video games and stuff like that, forget it.
So sometimes the fighter wants to marry another fighter and doesn't want to marry the wizard.
You know what? I would try that, but he's such a smart as a whip where he would just be like, I don't want to hear about this, and walk away. But no.
Sometimes you want to build your party with all fighters, and sometimes you want to build your party with lots of different people. And sometimes you just want to have 2 people in your party, and sometimes you want to have a party with like 5 people in it.
There's like so many shows that have like just LGBTQ based and things like that. Like I said with Shadowhunters, I played that all the time, and like he'd occasionally watch it because, you know, all the monsters and stuff that they'd fight. So like he was used to like seeing the guys kissing the guys or the girls kissing the girls, stuff like that. So it's like he's exposed to it. It's just not something that really interests him or anything to learn about, which is, you know, when he's ready to.
Yeah, that's how he learns, just being exposed to it. And so something that I've found kind of difficult actually is talking about polyamory.
Oh yeah.
Because like everything, like all the cliches of, you know, how to talk to your kids about sex is like when a man and a woman love each other very much, and then it's like, okay, so you get the gay thing in there, and it's just like, but sometimes a man can love a man or a woman can love a woman, and that's okay too. And then it's like, okay, now I've got to add like all of the possibilities, and it just starts like going, it's like, okay, so when there's a man and a woman, and it could be another man, or it could be another woman, or it could be two other people, or...
You know, the easier way to do it, which I usually do, is when two people love each other very much, they do things.
Well, right, but then, like, you talk about polyamory, and then it's just like, yeah, but then you've got more people, and it could be all sorts of, like, different combinations, and it's just like, it kind of gets overwhelming sometimes to talk about, so, like, I'm working on, like, kind of simple ways to talk about it, but, like, we also know people who are in polyamorous relationships who the kids have met, so,
Yeah.
like, it's fine. It's just like, how do I say this is what's happening out there as possibilities of how you could possibly want to live your life, and have all the possibilities open, and it's just like, do what you want to do.
Or like with my husband and I, like, we are in a committed relationship, but we occasionally have sex with other people, but we always talk to each other about it, you know?
Oh,
because
okay.
we're open about it. We
Right.
have an open relationship.
Open relationships, yeah. Yeah, and there's just, like, so many varieties of things out there, and it's just like, I don't need to talk to my elementary school kids about every single possibility that's out there. They'll figure that out.
Yeah. And I still get teased all the time by my kids about saying, like, oh, you're in love with so-and-so, because they kind of have an inkling that we have an open relationship, you know?
Okay.
But I get teased about it so much, and even my husband teases, and then the kids get on about it. I'm like, gosh darn you all. And it's always me getting teased, because I'm the one who's always out and about, because they're always like, want to stay in their little bubble at home, which is fine. That's what they want to do, but like, I'm the one who's always out, so I'm the one who always gets teased about it.
Right. Yeah, and like, me and my husband are both like, you know, have always been like cis appearing. We look like a straight cis couple.
Yeah.
And, you know, gender identity is just kind of like a new part of this whole equation that throws off that perception, but people still see us as a straight cis couple. And so it's hard to, I mean, it's not hard to talk about, but like, it's kind of hard to talk about to the kids, like to show the kids without like going and showing the kids, you know?
Yeah, and
But
at that age, you
we
don't
are
necessarily
expanding,
want to.
like, yeah. Now that I know my place in the LGBTQ community, I've felt more comfortable in the community, because I always wanted to be, like, I was always drawn to the community, but didn't know how I fit, and didn't want to intrude that space because I didn't fit. And I know allies can be friends with people who are gay, and I know that, but I always, like, this was this extra layer of I want to belong, but don't feel like I belong. And so it always kind of like, I always kind of kept myself at arm's reach from the community. And now that I know how I fit, I've become more of a part of the LGBTQ plus community, and gotten more friends, and I'm bringing kids around more, and so they're getting to meet lots of different people who have lots of different identities, and so that's been really great to be able to do that. And it was my own personal, like, block there.
Yeah.
And I think finding out more about myself I've been able to open up that.
Yeah, I was drawn to it too in high school, but I'd never actually got into the community until around my senior year, and that was shortly after the time I realized I was bisexual, but I still didn't really get into the community until a really good friend of mine at the time actually committed suicide. He got he drank a lot of tequila. Also, one of the reasons why I never drink tequila whenever I drink. And he got alcohol poisoning, and it was because he was gay, and, you know, he was trying to tell it to his parents, and then when he finally was open with them, they were just unaccepting at all. And then after all of that happened, still feel all of that. That's when I finally started doing more things with, you know, getting into that community, because it was like I came open to my mom shortly after, you know, after everything that happened, because I told her about my friend. You know, she was there, she went with me to the funeral, everything like that. And then I came out to her a few months after and explained to her that I was bisexual. And my mom love her to death. She was super accepting, and she actually started giving me the resources. She's actually the reason why I became a pagan, because she gave me that because I grew up as a Catholic, and she gave me all the resources, because I was like, this doesn't work for me, this religion. Like, always super accepting. But that's she actually got me into the community to begin with, like, you know, show me the resources, things like that, and helping me figure what the questions that she didn't know, she would help me find out, because, but yeah, just,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a big difference between being accepting, like, cool, you do you, and being accepting, like, cool, you do you. And you know what? I'm gonna go read this thing, and hey, I was reading this thing, and this might be great. Like, you might really be interested in this. And like, oh, I saw this thing, and I thought of you. And, you know, that's a whole different kind of accepting.
Yeah, like she would literally, because I didn't know what to do, and she would help me figure out where to look, because even if she couldn't find it herself, she'd be like at least giving me the tools to like figure out things on my own, you know?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta hand it to, like, even the parents who, like, are handing, like, going, oh, I saw this meme, and you're thinking, like, I saw this, like, 6 months ago, this is so old. But
they're trying.
They are. And, yeah, so that's always great. So if you're the parent who's trying to figure out your kids and trying to learn more, because I'm guessing that a lot of parents will be watching my videos to try to figure this stuff out, because I'm also a parent and you're like my age. And so, like, even don't worry if it's like old news. Your kid is still probably going to appreciate any effort you're making to try to connect. So, yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's where I've always been like, you know, everyone's safe space with me, whether I know you or not. You're more than welcome to tell me anything. Everything you tell me is it's confidential unless otherwise stated, or it's literally where it's going to hurt yourself or somebody else in that case.
Yeah. And that is super important. And it's also important to know which of your friends are the people to tell a secret to, and which of your friends are the people to tell your good news to that you want the world to know.
Yeah.
I have a very, very dear friend, but if I want something kept a secret, she is not the person I will tell, because she cannot keep quiet.
And then the one time you want her to tell somebody, they don't. It's like,
oh no, she does. Like, if I have good news and I want everyone to know, like when I came out as non-binary and decided I wanted everybody to know, like she was one of the first people at that point that I told, because like I know that she'll be like talking to a mutual friend who I'm not really like connected to anymore because I've moved away, and she talks to people that I wasn't like close friends with, but like she'll be talking to somebody that we a mutual acquaintance, and be going, oh yeah, so Crescentia's non-binary, did you hear about that? And they'll be going, no. And it's not gossip to her, she's just sharing and connecting, and she wants people to connect, and like, or she'll talk to somebody and their kid maybe is non-binary or questioning or gay, and she'll be like, oh, well, you remember Crescentia, she's non-binary. And she'll probably say she, but when I first came out it was still she. But yeah, she would probably still say she. But she's very cheerful and friendly, and she just wants to connect people. So you definitely want to know which of your friends are the ones who can keep a secret, and which of your friends are the one to tell the good news to that you want the world to know.
And you're more forgiving, especially if they don't have malice in their heart.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, I'm not telling anything to anybody who's gonna go and like whisper and grumble about me. It's like, I don't even keep them in my circle. Like, I might be Facebook friends with a lot, but that doesn't mean I'm telling them anything.
Oh, dude, I'd remove them straight up.
Well,
that's just me.
I say I may be Facebook friends with them because, like, I'm Facebook friends with a lot of people I don't know very well.
Yeah, true.
Because I use it for, like, networking and stuff.
I do too.
So, I'm Facebook friends with a lot of people I don't know very well. Great. Now everybody's going to look me up on Facebook and send me friend requests.
Well, on my bright side,
I am considering. I am going to eventually start a Discord. The next thing I want to talk about is you mentioned that your friend had died of alcohol poisoning as a result of being suicidal and from coming out.
Well, yeah, they came out and their parents weren't accepting, and then they just got really depressed and drank a lot of tequila to the point where they got alcohol poisoning. So it wasn't necessarily that they were trying to commit suicide.
It was that they no longer cared.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have I had an ex who died from a heroin overdose, sort of similar. A lot of depression, and got him to the point that he didn't care if he lived or died. And he was alcoholic for a long time, and I'm really surprised he hadn't, gotten into a drunk driving accident and killed himself that way, or gotten alcohol poisoning or something. Like, he struggled for a long time. I still miss him a lot. I mentioned earlier that I don't, miss people casually. Like, if I've just, been away from you for a day, I'm not gonna miss you. Like, that's just silly. But he's gone, so I do miss him a lot. Yeah. So,
And
depression.
It happened around the time when my grandmother died. Like she died, but it was near that time of year. So I was already depressed about that.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're depressed and suicidal, you feel like the world is better off without you. Like, you're not adding anything to the world. You're just making things worse. But when somebody kills themselves or has an overdose through depression, or any sort of death, a death leaves a hole in the world. The people left behind feel it. You are contributing something to this world. And, maybe the best thing, if you are feeling like you're just bringing all this negativity to the world, isn't to leave it. But sometimes we do need to take a look at ourselves, and there's things that we can improve about ourselves. And sometimes we need to look at ourselves and go, I need help. And I need help seeing that I'm a positive thing. So one thing that we wanted to talk about today is the Trevor Project. So this is something that is very important. It's a subject that's dear to me, but it's definitely a cause that means a lot to Kyleen. So Kyleen, would you like to talk about the Trevor Project?
Yes. I briefly talked about this in my video that correlates to this, but the Trevor Project is a nonprofit organization that helps youth with suicidal thoughts, or just in general. It's for the LGBTQ plus community, and one of the shows that I used to watch, Shadowhunters and Mortal Instruments, it actually has a lot of characters that are LGBTQ based. There was some bisexuals, there was Ace actually, and just a lot of different characters. And then Freeform decided to cancel the show, and a lot of the community got together, and we raised over $24,000 for the charity as a way of our hashtag Save Shadowhunters campaign. You can literally Google it and it'll be the top search, because it's still even now prevalent here and there. People still donate with that hashtag for it, because I actually, when I was looking it up to look at the exact definition of the project, it was there, and I saw even a donation I think a couple of months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still big, but that was actually the very first campaign that I ever did, where I got community outreach, and that's kind of why I started Charity Month to begin with, because of giving back to the community. But that campaign, again, if you're looking for a nonprofit to donate to, is probably on the top 5 of my list. I recommend checking it out, and if you can, to donate there. But it helps youth with counseling, and just in general, they've done so much, and I can't really with the amount of battery I have on this camera, I can't really get into it. But it's near and dear to my heart. So.
And so one thing that the Trevor Project does is they have a toll-free number, a suicide hotline.
Yes.
And so we'll put that on the screen here and have the information down. We'll put a link to the Trevor Project in the description. So if you or someone you care about is in the LGBTQ plus community and struggling with depression and feeling suicidal, these are some resources that you can use to connect to either for yourself or for someone you care about, because you are loved, you are a positive force in this world, and the world will not be better without you. The world will be worse without you. And there are people who will care. There are people who do care that you are hurting and want you to not be hurting. And the Trevor Project makes it so that there are people there who can help. So Kyleen also mentioned that, and I don't think we mentioned it very much in this video, we mentioned it a lot in the other video, that there is another video. So Kyleen does a podcast and YouTube
web
channel
series,
and there's just like all sorts of stuff that Kyleen does. And so for your web channel, we did this other video. So we just recorded it like just before this one. So we're both in the same outfits. We didn't have any wardrobe changes.
Although we did mention wardrobe changes in that video.
And some of the same things we talked about here, we'll be editing the videos, a little bit different. So some of the things we talked about here, we'll be talking about there. Some of the things we talked about there, we'll be talking about here. But there's going to be a lot of things that are different. So please go watch the video on Kyleen's channel. We'll have a link somewhere.
Yep, it's called Kai's Corner Productions, and the web series is called Showverse. It's our 3rd season. And also, if you have Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, the interview portion will be edited out for audio only for those, so you can watch it. Either if you can't watch the video, you can at least hear it on Spotify. And those that are watching on Spotify, just know that you can go to YouTube if you want to see the full-length video.
Yeah, and so, so like and subscribe to both channels and both videos, and we have a lot of fun. And I'm sure we'll be doing some collaboration videos again in the future. And links are all over the place wherever they're going to be. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just everybody stay safe. Again, safe space. If you need to contact us or the Trevor Project or just in general, always reach out. People are always there to...
And we like, friendly comments, reaching out, and suggestions of videos to do in the future. I would love some suggestions, because I was so thankful to be working with Kyleen this weekend, because we got to do this collaboration video, and it's like, great, I'm running out of ideas. So, so suggestions are welcomed, and friendly comments are welcomed, and we love our communities, and
pop in our Discord. We're there all the time. I'm there all the time.
And soon, eventually, I'll have a Discord too, so I'll get you all that info when I get that finished and ready. And maybe once I reach like 25 subscribers, because I think currently I have like 4. So I don't, and I'm already connected to them on Facebook mostly. I think there's one person who's a subscriber who I actually don't know in real life.
Really?
I think so, yes.
I know I'm one of them.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I think I have 4. And I think there's one person that I
subscribed to you
don't.
on 2 channels.
Then I might have 5
My
subscribers.
personal and my business.
Yeah, but I'd recognize both of those, so.
Sure.
So when I get to maybe like 25 subscribers, maybe I'll be motivated to actually get the Discord like finished and open. But like right now, I pretty much know everybody. So, So thank you everybody for being here and sharing this time with us, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation and our jokes and our resources, and I will see you next time. Bye.